All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we have another guest in our professional interview series for parks, recreation, leisure, tourism, sport, outdoor rec, all these things. Today we have Dr. Brian Clark from Eastern Kentucky University. Dr. Clark is a professor in the Recreation, Park, and Tourism Administration Department there in Central Kentucky at EKU. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing good, Mike. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. With these interviews, what we're kind of doing is we're walking through your life. So we're going to find out a lot about you. And even the folks that I've done that I feel like I know pretty well, I always learn something. So I'm kind of interested to see how well I know Brian Clark. Um,
Absolutely.
so where are you? We'll just start from the beginning. Where are you originally from, and where did you go to high school? That kind of stuff.
It's a good question. It depends on who I'm talking to, I guess. But I joke when I tell my students, I'm from Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky, and at some point, I split kind of those states up in thirds. But now I've lived in Kentucky the longest. But born and raised, early childhood in Indianapolis, Indiana. Then Dad got transferred to West Virginia. Then outside Charleston, West Virginia. So I went to Nitro High School in West Virginia. But then, moved my sophomore year to UK, and then three different schools, four different majors, and we'll probably talk about that. Trying to find a passion, but then ended up at EKU. But yeah, Indiana, West Virginia, Kentucky. I'd claim all three of those, but really Kentucky's home now.
Sure, yeah, and it's a good spot, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talked about having all these different majors, and that's I think that's pretty typical for a lot of different students, but especially folks that eventually find parks, recreation, sport, that kind of stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about your different, your path within choosing those majors and what you settled on and where you graduated from?
Absolutely. Yeah, so originally, chasing organized sports and then trying to play college football was my original dream. So I went to Glenville State in West Virginia, D2 school, and I was doing criminal justice there. Kind of, fast forwarding a little bit and just got tired of organized sports. My coach got, recruited to another school, so he left. So then I transferred to UK. Ended up doing telecommunications to get in-state tuition, full disclosure. So I really wasn't interested in that, but yeah, I was able to do that coming from West Virginia, and they didn't offer that. And at UK, I was able to get in-state tuition with telecommunications, but I really wanted to do exercise science kinesiology. So I thought that, gym teacher, football coach, something like that.
Yeah.
Always like being physically, being active and stuff like that. But then, that just really, I didn't really get into it. I couldn't. I just felt like it wasn't my thing. I wasn't passionate about it. I enjoyed some of the classes, but I just didn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life. Then kind of, was trying to walk on to play football and got into rock climbing for the first time. Got introduced to, outdoor recreation. So really gave up organized sports and didn't want to mess with the college, football thing anymore, and decided to focus, headfirst into outdoor recreation. So took some time off school actually, and was working a night shift at Trim Masters Incorporated in Nicholasville in Kentucky, and working the night shift. And nothing like working the night shift to make you realize, maybe going back to school and finishing up a degree would be a good idea. So yeah, really found out, word of mouth, as we talk about, with this area and this profession, it's a discovery major a lot of times, and same thing for me, word of mouth, friend of a friend said, hey, so and so is graduating from Eastern Kentucky University with, in recreation park administration. I'm like, what? That's you can major in that? I'm like, that's awesome. Because I'm just focusing on rock climbing and skiing and just, doing anything I can outdoor related.
Yeah.
And really kind of found out about that, put my 2 weeks notice in, and next thing you know, I'm at EKU trying to finish up my degree with recreation park administration.
And so knowing the folks there, who was the first person you talked to in the department?
Absolutely. Dr. Michelle Gherkin. So she is our therapeutic recreation or recreation therapy. We just changed. Yeah, so Dr. Gherkin was my advisor and the first person I spoke to, and she's still in the same office. And I'll never forget, it's 2002, three, something like that. sat down in her office and just said, literally, I'm interested, but what can I do with this? What kind of jobs can I get? What kind of opportunities are there with recreation park administration? Basically, saying, hey, sell me on this because I'm very interested in wanting to come back. So yeah, she was the first person I spoke to, and obviously she did a good job because the rest is kind of history there.
Michelle Gherkin may be one of my favorite people of all time. Um,
Absolutely.
and I think that just made me realize I probably need to try to get her on here. And I know that she can be, uh, I mean, sometimes she can be too humorous. So, but no,
That's right.
she's a great,
That's
yeah,
right.
she's awesome.
You can
Uh,
edit. You can edit.
right, that's right. Bleep out some stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
So for anybody that's watching this, it's only a joke. I really kind of consider her like a pseudo grandma for me, in a
Absolutely.
lot of ways, like
Absolutely.
very sweet and caring. And I used to tell the students all the time that if there's anybody that has the student interest at heart, it's her. Um, back to Dr. Brian Clark though. So you come into EKU RPTA, RPA, Recreation Park Administration. I just talked to somebody from Western Illinois, and it's RPTA.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense too.
Yeah. So you find your home there. You start working through the degree program. Um, when did you start thinking about career options, and when did you start looking and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. So even going back a little bit, thinking about exercise science and kinesiology, to me, and this is what I talk about when I'm advising students too. I'm like, hey, I eliminated a lot of different jobs. I was, worried that I wasn't going to find a job that I was passionate about, and luckily I did. My dad worked for IBM for 30 years and hates computers, so I learned that as a salesman, he made a great living, but he wasn't passionate about that. He didn't
Right.
like, he did, it was a job. And I didn't want that. I wanted a job that I wanted to get up every morning and was excited about working. So I started thinking, even back into the exercise science kinesiology, even if I was like a personal trainer or athletic trainer, something like that, I was like, what kind of people do I like being around? And not that I don't like being around those kind of people, but I didn't see myself being in a gym all day. And I like to work out, but I'm like, that was my de-stress time. I don't want to make that 10 hours in the gym all day and having clients, etc. So then I started thinking, well, what kind of other folks do I like being around, and what type of professions are there? And really, outdoor recreation, environmentally, minded folks that enjoy being outdoors. I really looked at that type of community, and I said, I really like that community, and is there a way I can be a part of that? And I like rock climbing. Maybe I'll be a rock guide, climbing guide, go out west, and have clients, etc. But I'm not in a gym. I'm in beautiful places all over the country and all over the world. So yeah, kind of, that was a little bit of my thought process there. Getting into, you know, outdoor recreation was it's natural resource recreation management now, but it was outdoor recreation and natural resources when I came to EKU in the early 2000s. So yeah, originally I was thinking, hey, be a rock guide, go out west kind of thing. I ended up graduating and worked at a summer camp for a summer, did some challenge course, facilitation, high ropes, low ropes stuff, that kind of thing. Then I actually got a job with an outdoor retailer, Philip Gall's Outdoor and Ski in Lexington, Kentucky, and they're no longer around. There's only one outdoor retailer, J&H, right now. But that was really, that was interesting on the sales side of things. But being, I was the receiving manager in the back, and then I worked my way up to the camping and climbing buyer and worked the floor, and got to meet, all the sales reps, went to the outdoor retailer show in Salt Lake City, got to meet, the outdoor recreation professionals, all the sponsored athletes were there. It was really cool to see that side of outdoor recreation, and made some great connections that I still have, even for our department now, buying equipment. I'm still able to get some deals, and being an outdoor recreation professional, you get that opportunity anyway. But those relationships that I was able to develop as a outdoor retailer, buyer, camping and climbing buyer, it went a long way, and I'm still able to capitalize on those relationships. And I think that that's across the board for a lot of different professions, but especially in this profession. You talk about the relationships that you have with so many different people, all the different departments, all the different, different federal, state, local, whatever, whoever you're working with, service learning opportunities and going to different places, and just, yeah, it's a, a people profession, even though you might be outside and in these beautiful places, but you end up making all these different connections, and we'll probably talk about networking and stuff like that here in a little bit as well. So I may have rambled on too long about that answer. Sorry, Mike.
No, you're fine. So, you're in the what I would call the private industry, right? Outdoor recreation private industry. You're making some good connections, but then at some point, you shift gears. What was your next professional step?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I got kind of caught up in the out retailer and all that stuff. I ended up, while I was working at Philip Gall's, I really wanted, my focus was, it switched from being a guide out west to being like, hey, Kentucky's my home. And I worked and I helped as an undergrad to establish adventure programs with campus recreation here at EKU. So that quickly turned into my passion was, hey, I want to work at a university and I want to run an outdoor program. And applied to a couple different places, got really close, phone interviews, stuff like that, got close to the on-campus kind of thing. But then luckily the EKU position opened up, that I was able to help, create as an undergrad for my senior internship. And so national search, and was able to get that job. And I was in that position. So the assistant director of campus recreation adventure programs, and I ran that, adventure programs through campus rec for about 8.5 years. And during that time, I was starting to slowly teach some part-time classes in the Department of Recreation Park Administration. So I was teaching the challenge course, introduction to challenge course class. I started teaching the adventure programming class. Helped create outdoor activities class, where it was getting them students getting involved with, adventure programs, and started realizing, hey, I love, not only do I love outdoor recreation adventure programming, but I love the students, and being able to work with the students and the one-on-one interactions with the students, and getting to introduce students to these experiences that they may or may not have had before. To me, that was what I realized that I love to do. Is I like to do it, but I like to see a smile on somebody's face when they're getting to experience that for the first time. So, I used to tell my trip leaders when I was training them as well, it's like, hey, if you're trying to be a trip leader just for yourself, then you're in the wrong profession, you're in the wrong position. You need to be able to enjoy providing opportunities for other people, because that's what this is all about. And really, I've kind of carried that through even to the academic side. Just again, getting to get the out of the classroom opportunities, the hands-on opportunities. Even if I've done it several times, it's different every single time with different classes and different students, and it puts a smile on my face anytime we can have those opportunities for students.
So, and during that time, so you're in the campus rec area, and while you were there, you've seen some dramatic growth as far as campus rec there, and I know that from us working together and whatnot. Through that growth of campus rec at your university and within the outdoor recreation or outdoor adventure program itself, what are a couple of those unique or special experiences that you had that you're particularly proud of, or you're like, man, I'll remember this, or I'm super proud of it, or something like that? What are some of those experiences?
Absolutely, yeah. So one, getting to we had a climbing wall at the campus, the then new rec center, and and nobody would run it. So this goes back a little bit further. So we had a challenge course, we had a challenge course coordinator, we had a climbing wall built, and then nobody was able to run it. So my good friend that was running the challenge course at the time, and I was helping to facilitate, on the challenge course, he asked me to help manage the climbing wall. So on top of managing the climbing wall, I decided to do my senior internship, and we said, hey, let's just not offer, we were starting to offer some, outside of the climbing wall trips to the Red River Gorge. We're 45 minutes an hour away from the Red River Gorge, world-class rock climbing, taking people from the climbing wall to the Red River Gorge to climb. we said, hey, other schools are doing outdoor programs beyond just taking some day trips climbing. Let's establish that here at EKU. So that was my focus as an undergrad. So I was really proud of, just laying the foundation and the policies and procedures for what is now adventure programs at EKU. So that was, originally just setting that up, on top of the climbing wall. We put together trips, workshops, so clinics for, technical skills and different things. We then a little jumping forward a little bit, when I was there, I was able to, with the SGA president at the time, they had a bike initiative, and we were able to purchase a lot of bikes. So we purchased commuter bikes, we purchased mountain bikes. So then we had a rental program for outdoor equipment rental. Then, the trip leader training and having the trips and having my focus with my background in Knowles National Outdoor Leadership School. I took an outdoor educator course as a fieldwork opportunity as an undergrad. But my focus was to not just train the trip leaders to be able to help out, but to actually lead those trips, and not have me go on those trips. I would train the student trip leaders, then we would set up the trips to actually have them lead, because really the only way to lead is to lead. If you're following somebody else that has that experience, then you're still not in that leadership role officially. So letting those students, set the trips up, drive the students to the location, help to set up the camps and cook and whatever technical skill, whether it's rock climbing, whitewater rafting, mountain biking, backpacking, whatever the case may be, having those students lead their peers, which can be a challenging thing as well. So yeah, kind of setting up all of those different components of adventure programs, I was very proud of. And then the last piece, the icing on the cake, before I was able to switch over to the academic side, was getting the challenge course over to campus rec. It was in community education and outreach, and kind of off on its weird little island, and it should have been under campus rec. And that was my real kind of final goal, on top of getting a trailer and some canoes and a truck to haul the trailer and a van. We were able to acquire the challenge course and renovate the entire challenge course. And I was able to kind of work, step by step with that, and kind of set up all the different elements, how we wanted it with the vendor that we went through. So that to me, when I first started in that position, I had some big picture dreams, and really all those steps kind of came together really nicely. And I was pretty proud of that whole process over an 8-year or 9-year, if you want to go back to my undergrad too, process.
So something that you missed out on is within that time frame, you also went back and got your master's degree and went back and got your doctorate as well. And I know once you stepped into faculty, you were kind of finishing that doctorate up. But uh, if I can real quick, what made you think about going back for the master's, and what was your reasoning, or your why'd you do it? There you
Yeah,
go.
absolutely, absolutely. And I'll give you the honest truth. So school, I've never been a big fan of school, and I tell my students this when I advise, during advising appointments. I found a passion, and I found an area that I was passionate about, and that's why I'm able to make it work. If it was any other area, I wouldn't have continued to pursue, advanced degrees or anything like that. On top of that, I'm pretty, tight with my money, and so if I was going, unless I got a GA position, I was not wanting to pay for school. To be honest, it's worth it, kids. So it's worth it whether you get a GA position or not. But my stubbornness was kind of like, hey, I got this position. I was a non-traditional, kind of finishing up anyway, so I felt like I was already kind of behind other folks. But at that time, I was the only person in campus rec that did not have my master's. So I looked at that, and I knew that even just to keep up with my peers around me, I needed to have at least my master's. So I kind of took a couple years, and we had little kids and stuff. So being daddy, was taking up some time too. But once they got a little bit older, I just started chipping away at my master's, and that was a benefit of the university. So I wasn't making much money necessarily at campus rec, but a perk that I wanted to take advantage of, was getting school paid for. So being a full-time employee and getting school paid for was a big deal for me. So I didn't get a GA position, but got the full-time position, and knew that I needed to kind of quickly get that master's, that grad degree, to be an even bar with everybody else. after that, again, I thought, just like as an undergrad, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna pursue any more degrees. I'm good. But then pretty soon after my master's, you start thinking, what's next? Am I going to move up the student affairs ladder and stay in the campus rec kind of thing, try to work towards a director or something in student affairs? Or is there an opportunity in academic side, and talking to the department chair, Dr. John McChesney, he kind of just sold me a little bit on what faculty life was like, and really, it made sense. And I was like, again, I like working with the students. I like those opportunities. And if I work my way up student affairs, campus rec, it's going to be more administrative stuff and not as many, opportunities to work with the students. So again, I said, hey, this is an opportunity. I got my master's. Now let's look at possibly getting my doctorate. And again, EKU offered that. So EDD, Doctor of Education, Educational Leadership and Policy Studies is what I got that in here at EKU, and was able to chip away at that over 3 years or so. But 20 years ago, I had no idea that I would be doing this. And it's just, that's part of this industry and this profession that I love. Again, too, there's so many different paths and opportunities. It's so cool to see what our former students are doing and what paths they take. And I like my story too, because it's so, I feel like, unique to me. And it just, you never know. You never know. So don't ever say, I'm not going to get my master's, or I'm not going to want to do this, because you never know down the road what you're going to want to do and what's going to open for you.
So and I think what's kind of similar is when I went back and got my master's, it was not because I was in a position and felt like I needed it for that position, but I knew if I wanted to do something else, I needed to get it. So I was in a position, knew I wanted to move up and move on, and
Yeah.
was like, at some point I got to get my master's. And the timing of pulling that trigger, so to speak, was had some other influences, but the reason is kind of the same, right? Is
Yeah.
there was some career aspirations there. So during the your time within campus recreation, you taught some courses as a side hustle. There within RPA. You mentioned like challenge course instruction, outdoor venture stuff. Um, when you got toward the end of your time, maybe you didn't know it was the end of your time within a campus rec, but as you got toward the end of that, um, was the doctorate and teaching the courses at some point, did that become very intentional that you were going to start working toward that faculty position, or did it was it more of an opportunity that arose and you're like, I'd really like to do this? Um, so how was that handled in your philosophy, personal philosophy, and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think originally, I think I had talked to a couple other colleagues that had just started the doctoral program at EKU, and they were kind of trying to talk me into it and just saying, hey, you should do it, and check it out. And I was like, I don't know, we'll see. Then kind of figuring out, like you said, those career aspirations, and trying to move up, thinking, maybe I don't want to move up within campus rec. Maybe I do want to look at the academic side and see if faculty is an opportunity, and knowing that if that is an opportunity, I would need a terminal degree. So I would need a doctorate. So, I think when I first started the program, the EDD program, I was just trying to capitalize on another benefit of the university, and trying to just take advantage of, who knows what's next, and this can help me down the road in numerous positions. That was my original thought. Then it did, like you said, it did become pretty intentional. Speaking to my predecessor, Ryan Sharp, he kind of sold me on what he was doing, and he's at Kansas State now, and a good friend of both of ours. And he was on my dissertation committee, and he was just like, Brian, this faculty life is pretty cool. And it's very, it can be similar to the professional staff side in the university, but can be totally different too. So I feel like I'm doing similar things, but in a totally different avenue, right? Professional staff, and you're expected to be in the office set hours, and faculty life, you got research and classes and different things, and you're in the field and you're all over the place, and that's great. I love that. I love that every day is never the same, you know. But it did become very intentional at that point. And who knew? You know, I didn't know if faculty life was still going to happen or not, but it became a goal for me to look towards, to try to get that, because I was like, you know, hey, I want to be an outdoor educator. I want to be an outdoor recreation faculty. I want to be, you know, what I'm doing with adventure programs, but now I want to do it on the academic side, and and share that knowledge and that passion in the classroom. So that was kind of my goal, and you know, didn't know if it would work out or not, but that was the dream, and chipped away at it, and I'm blessed and happy to be where I am, for sure.
So you made the transition to faculty, and I've got to say you had some fantastic colleagues, right? um,
Absolutely, without a doubt.
so you made the transition to faculty, moving from a professional role with Campus Rec into the faculty role. What are some of the things that you found rewarding, and some of the things you found a little challenging?
Absolutely. And you know, Mike, Dr. Bradley, you know, getting to work with you, and I've told you this, you know, one on one too. So I've learned so much from you, and really appreciated the opportunities that we had, like specifically with the travel courses and stuff like that. You know, Cumberland Island, Mammoth Cave, Land Between the Lakes, different places that we would go to, and just get out there with the students, and really getting to see how you handled, you know, the student interactions, the syllabus, you know, creating that, how to put stuff on, you know, Blackboard or whatever online learning system you're using, and grading, and you know, and then you as the graduate coordinator. So, you know, getting to work with you for what, 5 6 years at least, that was a big help for me. You know, you have definitely been a mentor for me for several years, and that was a big help, especially being new to faculty life, and just trying, you know, going into your office and just saying, hey, tell me, you know, what should I do in this situation, or looking at this class, what, you know, how did you teach this class before, you know, and you gave me a ton of information, and just a great example and model for me to look at. So I appreciate that. And that
Thank
was a
you.
big help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, that made my transition from a totally different world to the faculty life a lot easier, because I would pick your brain all the time. And I appreciate your willingness to always share your thoughts and experiences with me.
I
I would
apologize for all the
say
bad advice.
I don't recall any bad advice, which is great. That's
That's the
good.
best answer.
Only remember the good stuff. Yeah. Uh, but yeah, some of the challenges, you know, that's tough, because I think that in any position where you're going into a totally different job and kind of career path, you know, all those similar things that I was doing, you know, similar certifications and trainings, and opportunities for the students, but a totally different path as far as, you know, managing a classroom and all that versus managing, you know, a program kind of thing. So that was a transition. But knowing that I was teaching part time, I had a good idea of what that was like.
Sure.
Just knowing, you know, I'm taking the part time thing that I was doing before and enjoyed to do, and now I'm doing this full time. But also trying to learn, you know, the best way for academic advising, and all the different, you know, committees that you have to be on in a university position as a faculty member. But also knowing that I went through this program as an undergrad, and I went through it as a grad student too. So I felt like I had a good idea of what the students were going through. And honestly, I've been every student. I feel like, you know, I've been the student that struggled academically. I've been the student that, you know, the student athlete that was trying to do as best I can to keep my grades up for sports. I've been the non-traditional that came back and was very focused and driven and passionate, and cared about getting good grades. You know, so I feel like I can relate to a lot of different students too, and I think that's a big part of being a faculty member, is just, you know, understanding your students, being flexible with them, and just, you know, just trying to work with them, and know that there's so many different backgrounds that you're working with, and that's great. And something I love about EKU, and it's not unique just to EKU, but something that I do love is all the first generation college students that come through, and how cool that is during graduation when they say, stand up if you're a first generation college student, and knowing that, they're getting this opportunity that nobody else in their family has had. So that's really cool and rewarding.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was like, absolutely. um, I've got a train that goes by my office over here, and every now and then I think we only have trains when I'm on a call of some sort, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um, no, that's something that I really enjoyed when I was at Eastern Kentucky as well. Is the I felt like same with you. I felt like I connected with the students in some unique ways, and the first generation students is something very special to my heart as well. Um, so if you weren't a faculty member, if you weren't a campus rec professional, if you weren't all those things, and you got to choose your dream job, if money wasn't an option, so to speak, and you still got to pay bills, but if money wasn't so much an option, and you could just say, I want to do whatever the heck I want, what would Brian Clark be doing for a living or for his professional life?
That's a good question. I think I've had this question before. I would run my own business, and I've thought about doing that, as a side gig kind of thing during the summertime too. But I would probably do similar to what I'm doing now and what I did with Campus Rec. I would probably have an outdoor recreation company where I would still, maybe offer some equipment rental, some trips and clinics and trainings, and I think that would. I would love that, just to be my own boss too, and not have to worry about some of the stuff in a university setting, and some of the the hoops that you have to jump through. It takes a while to get things done sometimes, but I love the university setting. But getting to do the similar stuff, the outdoor educator trainings, and all that stuff, but as my own business, I think that's what I would love that.
Yeah, and I think that would be pretty cool too. As I've asked different people that question, I've thought about all the answers I would give, and um, you know, we worked a lot in Eastern Kentucky with a lot of different communities in transition for their economies, for the people, and all that.
Yeah,
And there's so many natural resource opportunities there. And I know you and I have talked a lot about that in the past, but I thought how cool would it be to have a coffee shop that does outdoor rental gear? How cool would it
yeah,
be to have a brewery where we also have a focus on outdoor? I mean, all these things, right? And it always has a connection
absolutely,
to that kind of stuff. Um,
absolutely.
before I let you go, for young folks, young professionals, or professionals in transition thinking about a career in either campus recreation, outdoor recreation, recreation and leisure, academically or whatever it may be, you have a unique path, and if they're looking, they might say, I feel like I'm on a similar path, or I feel like that'd be a cool, path to follow, whatever that may be, right? What are
Hmm.
some pieces of advice or some words of wisdom that you would give to young professionals or students or whatnot that may be considering following Brian Clark in some way?
Absolutely. You know, I think that networking, we kind of mentioned that earlier,
Oh yeah.
networking is huge. And I think getting to meet as many people as you can, whether that's through national conferences, that could be AOR, Association of Outdoor Recreation Education, it could be NERSA, it could be uh, oh my gosh, KRPS, specific to Kentucky Recreation Park Society, NRPA, if I think I may have mentioned that. But anyway, so many different professional organizations, conferences. And I think, meeting folks and getting to see what they're doing and what career paths they took, um, you know, picking brains, basically just seeing what folks are doing. And same thing what you're doing with this video series, which is great for the students to see this and just to hear what kind of paths are out there. Also certifications, especially in my area of outdoor recreation, adventure programming kind of thing. Certifications are huge. Currently I'm having to research my American Mountain Guide Association single pitch instructor, so that's my rock climbing certification. I'm having to do my wilderness medicine and recertify my wilderness first responder. And those were specific, in the past, looking at jobs. So here's one tip for sure: find a job that you like. look at the requirements, look at the qualifications, look at the required qualifications, but also look at the preferred qualifications and credentials. And I would try to separate myself. So if for example, if a wilderness first responder was required, but a wilderness first aid, sorry, was required, but a wilderness first responder was preferred, I was going to get my wilderness first responder, even though it was 9 to 10 days and a lot more time and money commitment. But I wanted to separate myself from the other competition because it's tough out there. There's a lot of folks that want these jobs because it's a great life and it's a great profession. But trying to separate yourself from those other folks through advanced degrees or experience and certifications. And the other thing too, yeah, just talking about made me think experience. I kind of rolled the dice early on and got experience with trips and certifications and living out of my truck and just traveling and getting out there and just doing stuff and didn't have my master's. And so I was lucky enough to get the position with Campus Rec Adventure Programs, and I was somewhat of an internal candidate, knowing the program so well and helping to establish it. But I was going up against people that had their grad degree, so that was a tough thing too. But I had enough of the certifications, trainings, and experience that I think that made up, compensated for not having my grad degree, and then was able to get that later. But yeah, so my advice is always just network. You never know who you're going to run into, who you're going to talk to, who you're going to meet, and then find out, this person works with this person, or this person has a job opening here, whether it's for you or for somebody else that even for students, still you and I, we're trying to network all the time, not only for ourselves to find out what's going on and have a good pulse on what's happening, but also for our students to be able to spread that information and say, hey, there's an opening with the Forest Service, there's an opening with the Park Service, there's an opening at this, camp at everywhere, kind of thing, just knowing what's going on out there. But networking is huge. Trainings and certifications is huge, and just trying to get that experience and build that resume as much as you can. But finding that job posting of what you're interested in and trying to make your resume fit that.
So, something that, Dr. John McChesney there at EKU emphasizes, and something that I took away as well, and you kind of picked up into it, is making sure that you have competitive advantage. And I think that, we both have that similar philosophy, in that is like, what can we do through courses, or, giving our students a gentle nudge in the backside, to say, you want to do this, but, like you said, there's a lot of other people want to do the same thing. So what can you do to set yourself above the fold, so to speak? What are you doing that nobody else is? And some of the things you brought up were great. Dr. Clark, thank you so much for taking your time this morning. I sincerely appreciate it. I know that we talked before we started recording that I need to get out there next year for the golf classic, because you got to lower that raise that handicap. I don't know what the technical term is. You got to have,
I don't either.
You got to have the weakest link, and you're missing it on the golf team this year. So
I tell you, we have a good time, and we did miss you at the golf scramble. So hopefully we can get together next year. But yeah, Dr. Bradley, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and this is really cool that you're doing this, and hopefully the students are getting to enjoy a lot of different stories and different opportunities to see what's going on out there. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll talk very soon. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
See you.